everyone, and welcome back to the Calvin Tobin Show. I am your host, Calvin Tobin. Today we have a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. Alright, as the NHL season slowly progresses, we are starting to see the men separate themselves from the boys. And the Islanders are definitely one of those men, because the other night they took on the Las Vegas Golden Knights, and their goalie Ilya Sorokin had himself a game. 42 saves. Got his 5th shutout of his career and the 2nd on the season. And he's already got 2 just in the first 5 or 6 games. Who knows how many he can get just for the rest of the season, let alone the rest of his career. Now, the Islanders won 2-0 in a very hard-hitting game, and they did exactly what they needed to do in order to win. And what they did was block half of Vegas's shots, and they made the Vegas Knights a hitting party. They had a total of 44 hits, and they were just hitting those players left and right and just took them out of the game. And Vegas had absolutely no momentum going for them. Now, the Islanders are 3-2-1 right now, but if they want to stay consistent and go back to the playoffs for a 4th straight year, they're going to have a near perfect balance between their offense and defense. But the defense is going to have to be slightly better on a 60-40 type scale, because if they are able to do that, they can definitely help the Islanders get to 40 wins. Now, with the Islanders offense, they are definitely capable of being a 40-plus win team. But in order to do that, they have to keep Matthew Barzal and Kyle Palmieri on a consistent scoring basis. And if they can do that while mixing in their new addition, Zach Parise, this team has a chance at going back to the playoffs for sure. And just maybe, if they're dominant enough, they can get back to a 3rd straight Eastern Conference Finals. Now, speaking of dominance, does anyone see a flaw in the Cardinals game? Because as of right now, I don't. Undefeated 7-0, and it looks like they actually might be the ones that have to face the Buccaneers in the NFC Championship, because these Cardinals are blowing out everybody. They've had a couple of close games, but when it comes to teams who are actually going to be playoff teams, the Cardinals just are going to another level and are just breaking barriers this year, because 3 teams that are potential playoff teams this year, they smoked them. Tennessee, first game of this season, won 38-13, and Tennessee's 5-2 right now. The Rams, they're also 5-2 right now. Actually, excuse me, they're 6-1 right now, and the Cardinals whipped him 37-20. And the Browns maybe might get to the playoffs, but as of what happened to Baker Mayfield with that shoulder injury, I do not know. But if that didn't happen, the Browns are a playoff team, and the Cardinals end up whipping them 37-14. Technically 37-7, because I don't really count that halftime Hail Mary shot that Baker Mayfield threw 57 yards to Donovan People-Jones. That doesn't really count, because the Hail Marys are always lucky. It's technically 37-7. But the Cardinals are just unbelievable this season. I guarantee no one saw this coming for them to be undefeated so far. Now, do they have a chance at going undefeated? I definitely say so, because they have 3 tough games left, which is Green Bay this Thursday, the LA Rams in about 3-4 weeks, and then the Indianapolis Colts to a certain extent, which is the second to last game of the season. Depending on how the Colts look at that time, determines if that will actually be a tough game for them. But as of right now, Cardinals look like they can't be stopped alongside the Buccaneers. Now, Jamar Chase is on another level as well. This dude is already looking like a top 5, maybe top 3 wide receiver, because he broke the record for most yards through the first 7 games of any season of any player in NFL history by getting 754. And he wouldn't have got that if he didn't go off for 200 yards, making it look like he's back in college. And the crazy thing about it is that he's already had a more yards in one game in the NFL than he did in college. And when he was in college, especially in 2019, that Tennessee team, or that LSU team, just walked over everybody, especially Oklahoma in that college football playoff game a couple years ago. Now, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, I don't know how they're doing it. They are bringing all their chemistry into the NFL right off the bat, and they're already looking like one of the most dangerous duos that could maybe ever play, just based on how Jamar Chase is looking. Now, here's some unfortunate news in the NFL. For Green Bay, Davante Adams has been put on the COVID-19 list, and it's going to be a week-to-week basis on when he's going to be back. I'm hoping he can get back in time for that Cardinals game, because if Davante Adams does not come back for that game, it's going to be an easier win for the Cardinals. Now, also speaking of COVID, Matt Nagy announced yesterday that he has came down and tested positive with COVID and is going to be out for a little bit. Now, how much is that going to affect Justin Fields? Who knows? Maybe he could look different with the interim head coach on whoever it's going to be. Because as of right now, Justin Fields is the worst quarterback in every statistical category in this league. Now, who's ready for some championship? The World Series is finally here. The Houston Astros are taking on the Atlanta Braves. And this game is, this World Series matchup was completely by surprise, because everybody was either expecting the Tampa Bay Rays from the American League and Houston and White Sox to a certain extent, and we were definitely all expecting either the Giants or the Dodgers to go in the World Series, especially the Dodgers, because they practically have a super team. Based on what happened, they got to the NLCS, but the fact that they didn't make the World Series with the players they have showed that super teams don't actually matter even if they're formed. And the Dodgers and to a certain extent the Brooklyn Nets, but because of injuries, that just shows that even when you form a super team, you cannot go undefeated, or you can't just automatically win and just like kick everybody's butt. Now, in this World Series, there are 2 players that these 2 teams have to look out for based on last series, because these 2 guys are the complete X factors into helping their team get that World Series ring. Now, for the Atlanta Braves, it's Eddie Rosario. Now, Eddie Rosario has been and was absolutely dominant and crushed the Dodgers in the NLCS, hitting .560, having 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, and 9 stolen bases. Like, what? And then you got, on Houston's side, you got Jordan Alvarez, who made history by having the highest hitting percentage in American League playoff history of any series by hitting .522, along with a home run, 7 RBIs. And these 2, like I said, if these guys can keep up what they did in the championship series or in the AL and NLCS, those two are absolutely the deciding factor for the hitting part. When it comes to pitching, the relief pitchers for the Atlanta Braves are going to have to be the heaviest relied on because Houston has way more dominant starting pitchers, and towards the end of the game, those relief pitchers are going to be or have to be on the money if they want to get those shootout wins. Now, for Houston, their best way to win is hitting like they have been all season, being the number one hitting team, hitting 267 all season long, and they've been on an even better pace and hitting streak in the playoffs. If they can consistently hit and get on base and get in those Atlanta Braves starting pitchers' heads, that's the way that Houston is going to win that World Series. Alright, that's the end of the Calvin Tobin Show. Please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any sports media. And please follow me on Instagram at Calvin Tobin Show so you don't miss out on any sports news whatsoever. And I'm out.